So I watched Infinity Pool last night and I need to talk about it with somebody because it is unhinged in all senses. I will try not to give away spoilers in case you haven't seen the film yet, but I definitely recommend checking it out as I think it will be a title that will be spoken about a lot this year. So Infinity Pool is set in a fictional country, Litolka, which is struck by extreme poverty, corruption, a bizarre justice system, but which also offers beautiful holiday resorts where the wealthy stay inside protected areas. Alexander Skarsgård is a struggling writer who is spending his holiday in Litolka with his wife in a search for inspiration and in also what might be an attempt to reconnect with her, as the two seem to have quite a cracked relationship. And one day during their holiday they come across a fan of his work, another tourist portrayed by Mia Goth. And as to be expected, Mia Goth's character is way deeper and concerning than her cute initial appearance, but because of her charming ways, the couple end up joining her and her husband for dinners, day trips, even venturing outside the safe holiday resort boundaries. And this is just the first step into absolute insanity, as during one of these trips something happens and our protagonist has his first taste of the local police and their unique or insane approach to justice. Now, this isn't a spoiler, it is literally in the trailer. As many crimes in the country are punished by the death penalty, our protagonist is offered two options. Either die or pay a hefty sum and the police will create a copy of him. They will clone him and execute that clone. They consider it the same punishment as the clone literally can feel everything the original person does. And that wasn't a spoiler, it's just the premise to the whole movie, which just gets wilder and wilder from there. As when a person crosses a line like that, added to the intoxication of alcohol, drugs, sex, violence, there's no going back to the life they lived before. Anybody would become a different person after that. We're literally animals wired for survival and reproduction. How on earth can our brain elaborate the vision of ourselves being murdered? So while his wife is sad and rightfully concerned, our writer is dragged into the playground holiday world of Mia Goth and her friends, which leads him to spiraling out of control. And while there is a lot of physical violence in this movie, what concerns me more is the destruction of the soul. Our protagonist is high in the adrenaline and hormones and drugs, but also getting addicted to that high, while still wanting to escape it and proving how from one small accident you can end up in way more trouble. Now, all of this wild ride was portrayed in a very peculiar and bizarre manner. As a matter of fact, I felt like in some points the film prioritized aesthetics over the script. I really liked the twists and turns of the story, but they were often slowed down to showcase the creative aesthetic of the film. For example, the really lengthy drug-fueled sex scenes, which I obviously can't show, were well created but really long. There are long sequences of visions, flashing lights, slow-mos, which of course highlight the protagonist's insanity progressively taking over him, but which sometimes were at the expense of the plot moving on. Now, I have to underline that sometimes, as the hallucinations and the mental degradation of the characters is vital to the plot. For example, the whole sequence in which the protagonist is being cloned is really visually striking, and I can't really come up with a more fitting sequence that would represent what's going through his brain in that moment. And most of all, I love the opening sequence with a camera that flips upside down and the loud, ominous music leading us from the preppy, wealthy, straw hats and linen shirts world to the world of giving yourself up to all vices. And from that moment onwards, the creepy music just lingers with us, grating on our nerves until the very end. Now, lately I've been thinking about a theory that this film confirmed, and that is that the most disturbing and successful horror movies have been shifting from what we would consider classic horror tropes like the supernatural, a lot of blood and slasher scenes, monsters and ghosts, to these new themes like the wealthy playing God with us, regular people flipping and losing control, being brainwashed or coerced into doing things. This is what scares us. We're no longer scared of monsters, we're scared of billionaires creating monstrous things like clones being executed instead of us. People playing God and then just paying off their crimes, which if you think of it is what's going on at the moment. Super wealthy people just do whatever they want with whoever they please and then just pay off their crimes. There are many examples we can't really get into without YouTube slapping a big yellow dollar button on this video, but think of how we're just accepting it as normality at this point, with how we all sat in our air-conditioned homes snacking away while watching the Football World Cup, knowing that people kept in near-slave conditions died building those fancy stadiums. It's literally just normality. So talking of modern horror, how frightening is it to be in a world in which money can cover your crimes and get you out of anything, and in which people get high on living wildly and without consequences? The Menu also covered some similar concepts, with these pretentious rich people being judged judged for their wrongdoings. But it's not only a topic related to horror movies. Look, for example, at Triangle of Sadness, which brings in the topic of millionaires and billionaires who are the same as everybody else when the worst gets the worst. In addition to many popular horror movies nowadays featuring very down-to-earth modern elements, like the whole Airbnb setup from Barbarian or the chronically online culture in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Anyway, getting back to our wild holiday resort, I think this is the reason why films like Infinity Pool stick with us for so long, regardless of their flaws, because it does have a lot of plot holes, of which were excused by the "it's just a movie" trope. Of course, all of this wouldn't have worked without great performances that made us feel very close to what the protagonist was going through. Alexander Skarsgård did a great job of making us suffer with him and feel what he was going through. Mia Goth also perfectly embodied a bizarrely free-spirited and very overpowering and sensual person. From the moment we meet her character, you can feel the sexual tension in the air, and it's hot, but also very ominous. Obviously, I can't get into too many details because of spoilers, but both of them did a great job here. And can we just give Alexander Skarsgård a great round of applause here? I mean, Mia Goth was absolutely creepy in this role, and she definitely is a scream queen by now. But can we just take a moment to appreciate Alexander Skarsgård's versatility? In every film, he's wildly different, from racist husbands in the 20s to huge vindictive Viking men, rom-coms and Godzilla movies and war movies. He's constantly changing completely. And before you say, well, that's what actors do, trust me, a lot of them are stuck in the same loop for years. So although there were some parts of this film I didn't like, mainly the fact that this couldn't really happen in real life because of where were the cell phones? Where were the embassies that provide assistance? Why were the laws of this country stricter than traveling into North Korea? I still think it's a great modern horror movie that can show how dehumanized we can easily become. And a small side note, lately I've been talking on my social media how my dreams recently have been becoming very affected by what I watch. Sometimes it's really odd and bizarre, like that one about me saving Helen Mirren from drowning off the coast of Ireland, or when Brian Tyree Henry was working at a takeaway pizza place. And I kid you not, last night after watching Infinity Pool, I literally dreamt of an old friend of mine somehow convincing me to go on this wild robbing spree, and we got into so much trouble that then we fled to Albania by car, and once we were there we realised the situation had got out of hand, so I decided to turn myself in. But at that point we had even robbed Matteo Messina Denaro, this huge mafia boss that's been recently arrested here in Italy, so I had like this hit on my head, and all of this because I'd let myself somehow be dragged into this situation by my friend. You can tell how relieved I was when I woke up this morning. Setting that aside, now Infinity Pool is my first Brandon Cronenberg film, and since I've watched it, everything online has been screaming at me to watch Possessor, so I will definitely have to check that out. And at this point I'd love to hear what you thought about Infinity Pool, if you've watched it, if you're looking forward to watch it, if you would recommend any other Brandon Cronenberg films. I would like to know everything, so make sure to leave a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.